Hello and welcome. Happy New Week. It's a beautiful Monday afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to Market View. My name is Lungelele Makakula. Do watch us on our YouTube page. We are at Eswatini TV. Good afternoon and welcome. In Eswatini, cooperatives significantly contribute to economic and social development by promoting rural development, creating employment opportunities, improving access to markets, increasing rural incomes, and also facilitating poverty reduction initiatives. It's disappointing, therefore, to learn that in some cooperatives there is mismanagement of funds and poor governance. It has been disclosed that close to 10 cooperatives have approached the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade to report mismanagement of funds and poor governance. These include Lutango Lokangwane Savings and Credit Cooperative, which had about 1,000 members but now is left with only 200 members. We'll find out more in an interview where business journalist Nelsiwe Ntlangamandla discusses a way forward in helping this cooperative with the Commissioner of Cooperatives, Russell Ngumalo. Then later on our last segment, Sunny Lesbia will analyze today's financial markets. For now, let's go straight to our first story. In our first story, the timber industry is a major contributor to the country's economy. Montigny alone provides about 12,000 employment opportunities to Eswatini. The spokesperson, Sihle Mavuso, says about 95% of the company's monthly budget is spent on Eswatini. He has also disputed talks that Montigny is taking all the markets for itself in the timber industry, leaving small and medium enterprises without business.
Montigny directly has an employment of over 700 Eswatini who are hired directly by Montigny Group of Companies, both here at Usutu and in the south, in Hlangano. Then we have another 11,000 Eswatini who are hired through subcontracting and contractors by the small and medium enterprises who are forming quite a huge chunk of our employment workforce. I must say that the 11,000 people that we're talking about is actually a figure that is employed by the small and medium enterprises. Montigny believes that if we empower Eswatini by creating job opportunities for them in as far as businesses are concerned, is what will make a better Eswatini. Yes, there are perceptions here and there about us taking all the work, but one thing that we know for sure and that which we do is that as a company, we do give opportunities to Eswatini through our tendering systems, which basically all the Swazis are put through a pre-qualification process, and they are given tenders or they are given contracts up to about 5 years maximum to do their work. And we pride ourselves that there has been some companies that started from humble beginnings, and we can say that now they have moved up to about being a medium enterprise. I must say that if you take us back a little bit 10 years ago when we started, there were a lot of guys with small bakkies, like vans, and 8 people, maybe 8 to 10 people with a chainsaw, moving around doing work for us, and those people have since grown into some small and medium contractors who are now actually running meaningful and productive businesses. To add on that, we are spending almost 95% of our monthly budget on Eswatini and Swazi-owned businesses. That goes to general supplies as well as production in our plantations. The transport side of things, we are proud that the majority of the trucks that moves our products actually is trucks owned and belonging to Eswatini and Swazi companies. It's only a few that comes from the Republic of South Africa or neighboring countries who basically come with a load into the country, and coming out, yes, of course, then they do get a lot of timber. But predominantly, we are a company that loves servicing and working with Eswatini.
More projects to help small and medium enterprises and the timber industry are being initiated by Montigny. The spokesperson, Sihle Mavuso, highlights how these businesses are being assisted by the company.
Coming to the issue of communities, Montigny extended an olive branch when we started to the local communities. We invited them to come up with ideas on how best they can be part of this moving train. And we are happy that some contractors are actually community based. From the transport sector, predominantly, we have people who own trucks who are neighbors to the establishment, as well as when we look in terms of civiculture, which is basically the planting and harvesting. It's basically members of the community who are running those operations on our behalf. So we can say that there is an impact in as far as that is concerned. And lastly, on the community side, we are also engaged in a Watley extension program where we encourage Eswatini to plant Watley trees because we have since realized that there is some good market for that type of timber. So currently we are going around the Meekley and the Highveld distributing seedlings to willing Eswatini who wants to run this thing, and there are no conditions attached. So long as you have your land which you can put aside for this project, we give you the seedling and no conditions attached. It's up to Lady Swati at the end of the day to decide what he does with the forest. If he wants to cut it and do a makapa for the house, it's up to him. If he wants the tree to mature and sell it to us or any other competitive market out there.
Well, and that's it for our business news this afternoon. Stay with us after the break. Nelsiwe sits down with the Commissioner of Cooperatives, Russell Ngumalo. Don't go in.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back. You're still watching Market View. This is the Monday edition. We continue with our program. Close to 10 cooperatives have approached the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade to report mismanagement of funds and poor governance. These include Lutsango Lwagangwane Savings and Credit Cooperative, which had about 1,000 members, but now it is left with only 200 members, as some have left due to an investment in property which has left a 3 million Amalangeni deficit. Business journalist Nelsiwe Nhlagamandla sits down with the Commissioner of Cooperatives, Russell Ngumalo, to discuss the way forward in helping this specific cooperative and what is being done to strengthen the whole cooperative movement in Eswatini.
Commissioner, siyabonga kakhulu for joining us on the show. We are seeing a number of cooperatives kulamalanga facing a lot of challenges. So we came to you just to find out the most reported cases by cooperatives, especially in the past year.
The most reported challenges through either written or verbal are issues of governance and compliance. Governance relates to when you find that within the board of directors of that cooperative, there are some issues such as, for instance, we've amended our act. The supervisory committee is now responsible for advising or granting loans to the executive committee. So I find that there are clashes there when it comes to those governance issues. Then obviously with compliance, it's when within a cooperative, they're not following certain laid down rules, such as the remittance of financial statements, audited financial statements within the stipulated period. Those are the two most reported challenges. And then obviously once in a while you do get whereby members feel there is embezzlement of their funds. And it's when we really take note of that, because a cooperative is not supposed to be self-enriching.
How many cooperatives, Commissioner, have come to report at the ministry about these issues of governance in the past year, as you have highlighted?
In the past year, we could say it's close to 10 cooperatives who have reported such incidences. One big cooperative, which is an apex, is Eswamco, and we instituted a forensic audit. Currently, we're still looking at that report from the auditor. And then with the others, we do on-site inspections whereby we go randomly into their offices, whereby we demand to see their finances. And off-site is when, together with FSRA, we can actually check even the bank accounts, what transactions are happening within the bank accounts. That's our off-site. And FSRA, as a regulatory body for all service providers, normally assists us with that regard.
I want to know if there are any specific steps that the ministry is taking to ensure ukuthi labo labasebenzisa kabi le mali they are brought to book.
We have worked with the fraud unit, and we are currently working with the fraud unit. There's one cooperative in Manzini, whereby instead of being a cooperative, they turned it into, I would say, a stokvel. There's a lady, it's in court currently. There's a lady who lost about 500,000, and what we did was we reported that to the fraud unit to investigate. We actually want to take that route so that we can nip it in the bud. You know, a lot of the times when a cooperative has financially struggled and there has been embezzlement of funds, we haven't really done much in terms of bringing those people into book. But as a department, we've decided that the correct way is for the law to take its course. This week we will be meeting with the fraud unit from Manzini. There's another cooperative where we're going to report members of the board who we believe have acted in bad faith.
I want to zone into the issue of Luthango Sako, Commissioner. What is it that the ministry is doing to assist these members?
And then when it comes to Luthango, we didn't know Luthango was in such a financial mess until we had quite a number of women visiting us who had actually resigned. And we took note that there were so many frequent complaints about members resigning and then not accessing their savings within the stipulated time. So we decided to do an on-site inspection where we discovered that there was this 3 million plus deficit, and there were also a lot of issues with mismanagement and non-compliance within the cooperative. And we are working towards resolving the issues at Luthango. As much as it is a high mountain to climb, but we believe we will come up with a solution. If not, then we will have to liquidate Luthango.
We know, Commissioner, that the Luthango Co-op wanted to build flats at 1.2 million emalangeni, but the costs have escalated. What would you say in terms of investments? How should people invest in cooperatives? What is your advice, and is there anything that you're going to do to help them?
I think with Luthango, it was a bad investment decision that they undertook. And unfortunately, it's the members who have to bear the brunt. It all boils down to the members. They are the owners, they are the shareholders. As you know, if you join a cooperative, you have to buy shares so that you become a shareholder. But once the board of directors takes bad investment decisions, then you have to bear the brunt. With Luthango, we're still working around to see how we can probably recapitalize them. Not promising anything, but we are in talks with a number of people on how we can recapitalize them. And obviously, once we do that, we'll have to closely monitor their operations. We'll sort of put them into administration, if I would say. The reason we're doing that is because most members of Luthango are elderly women, and we wouldn't like to leave a legacy of bogogo bethu basikhombe bathi sehluleka kubasita nabasenkingeni. So that's what we want to do. We are in talks with some institutions on how we can recapitalize Luthango. And in future, we will use Luthango as an example of what happens if you make a bad investment decision. We've seen it happening with Exponent, whereby some companies invested in Exponent and it all went down the drain.
Seeing all the challenges that you have mentioned, Commissioner, I want to find out if there are any reforms that are meant to strengthen the cooperative movement in the country.
Yes, we are working on a number of initiatives, but it starts with the department, because as I would say, we're the face of cooperatives. We have to do housekeeping first. For example, we want to review our policy. It's outdated, it's a 2017 policy. And as you know, the world is not stagnant. So we have to keep up with the current trends. And we've also partnered with DGRV from Germany to help in capacitating the movement. We also want to conduct, I would say, educational tours within the various constituencies. We know most of our cooperatives are actually in the rural areas, and it's where you find that there are these challenges I've spoken about. So we really want to go to the people out there and educate them on what it means to be in a cooperative and what a cooperative is, so that they can be able to question their board, if they can see certain irregularities within the operation of that cooperative. We've also reviewed our bylaws. We also want to review our regulations, seeing that we've amended the Act. And within those regulations, we want to put very strict measures on what happens should someone be found wanting. It could be a jail sentence, it could be a fine. Those are things we want to put in place. And then within the movement itself, we've got the National Cooperative Federation of Eswatini, NCFE. We're also working towards capacitating them. That's the umbrella body. And then also the apexes. We've got a SASCO, we've got a SWAMCO, and then we've got the Youth Cooperative Alliance, a SNICA. What we've decided was, within this period, within 6 months, we want to capacitate them so that they are actually able to handle such challenges. We should be the last resort. Members shouldn't run to us. They should run to where they're affiliated. And then also, we are really pushing cooperatives to affiliate within one of these three bodies, a SWAMCO, a SASCO, or a SNICA. And that way, they'll also be able to report such challenges to the relevant apex.
Commissioner, siyabonga kakhulu for joining us on the show. We are hoping to see the results of every effort that you are putting into ensuring that cooperatives in the country are governed in a way that will benefit the members.
Right, that was the Commissioner of Cooperatives, Russell Ngumano. He says the ministry is determined to strengthen cooperatives in the country following reports of mismanagement of funds and poor governance. Stay with us. After the break, we connect with Sanel Lesbia for today's financial markets.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back. It's 20 past 2. You're still tuned into Market View. We now connect with in-house economist Sanele Sibia for today's financial markets. A very good afternoon, Sanele, and welcome to Market View. Let's take a look at international markets. Firstly, take a look at the U.S. markets. U.S. President Donald Trump today has announced that he would impose tariffs on their neighboring country, Colombia. What effects will this have on Colombia?
Hi, thank you, Lou, and good afternoon to the viewer. So what we're seeing with the Trump threats around tariffs is actually going to have some trade diversion effects, and actually it is going to ripple through the markets because we're seeing that also coming in through from Canada, that there are those talks around those tariffs, same thing around Mexico. So what that is going to do in terms of the Colombian economy, it is actually going to affect their export capacity or their export propensity into the U.S. markets. Because it's going to make Colombian-based commodities a tad bit expensive in the international markets. But just only for the U.S. markets, what that would mean is that the Colombian economy has to now think around trade diversification, which is actually the trade diversion effect or trade distortion effect of those tariff policies, and we should actually see that across the globe as and when we get to see more tariffs coming in, say around March. But then in terms of the markets, what the markets are reading, if you look at your Nasdaq, your Dow Jones Industrial Average, and your FTSE 100, is albeit the fact that they closed on still that high level with the S&P 500 closing above the 6,000 marker, the Nasdaq is still around 19,000, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average still on that 44,000. So what we are seeing in that, it's the trends are showing that there is some confidence around the Trump policies, but what markets are also looking out for is the independence of the Federal Reserve Bank in the U.S. because we've seen President Trump come out to state that he is going to push for the Federal Reserve Bank to lower those prices, to lower those interest rates. So that's what markets are now trying to price in, the level of fiscal interference on monetary policy issues. If you look into the futures market, as the futures markets are actually indicating that markets are a bit, they're a bit stressed around those news. And then also, we know that we are walking into the 29th of January, where we're expecting the Federal Reserve Bank to also show signs of whether they're going to cut interest rates or not this on the 29th. So what markets are also trying to price in right now is what will the stance of the Federal Reserve Bank be, given what we are seeing Trump also pushing. And then another one of the things that we need to look out for when it comes to the U.S. markets is, over the course of the last year, trade was actually being led by the tech-heavy companies, more especially those that are venturing into artificial intelligence. But we've seen news come out of China that China seems to have figured an easier way around artificial intelligence. So that again, we should expect to see that playing out in the U.S. markets today. But if you move across the pond to London, you can see that that is actually already starting to play in across Europe. It's still that red onslaught where we're seeing, though the German economy seems to be performing better, but still there are those worries around what the China disruption will be in terms of the artificial intelligence market. And then we are seeing those, micro nitty-gritties within London showing that, the miners haven't performed very well. So we're seeing a slight decline in terms of the FTSE 100, but still on a very comfortable level. Markets remain optimistic because the Trump threat has not yet been felt. We have not seen him talk around anything to do with tariffs. It's only right now he's focusing mostly on the defense, on NATO and all of those other issues. But the tariffs, he still hasn't touched on those because that's what worries markets the most. There's trade diversion effects of those tariffs that are going to come in. And then when you look into France again, we're seeing some positive. The CAC 100 stays at that 7,800 mark. Those are figures we've last seen before the snap election in August or thereabout. But what we should see going forward is because of that stability that we have now within France should actually drive markets back to that 8,000 mark with a bit of investor confidence coming back into the French markets. And then then in Germany, we've seen some news around the manufacturing index data that is actually came out, showing that, we can see that there is a bit of life coming back into the German economy, but the fundamentals still remain very frail within the German economy. So that's what investors are looking forward at, and they're trying to weigh and balance all of those issues up. And we know that Germany is a major exporter of steel-related commodities, and those ones actually attracted tariffs in Trump's previous policy, in Trump's previous presidency. So we are just waiting to see how that is actually going to play out over and above the disruptive effect of that China AI story. So that's what we are looking out for, and that's what we are seeing in the markets happening today. And then moving to Asia. Again, Asia is also not on that good footing because we are seeing the threat of Trump policies, and over and above, we are also now trying to figure out where the artificial intelligence landscape is actually going to go. And there is that, let me just say, apprehensiveness around the tariffs within, not the tariffs per se, around what the Federal Reserve Bank will do in terms of the interest rates this month, or actually in a couple of days. So that's what is actually being read through the markets across the globe. And then coming into South Africa, what we are noticing is there is that apprehension around the interest rates in the US and the monetary policy path within this Donald Trump era. But over and above, we have seen President Ramaphosa signing that land expropriation without compensation for public uses, for government uses. Now we know that that's one of the sticky points around which the GNU is actually entirely based. So what markets are now reading into is how likely is the GNU going to survive this new policy move by the ANC. So we are just waiting to see how that is going to happen. And, if you look at what we are waiting to see across the globe, and now you're adding this additional layer of uncertainty within the South African markets. So that is why we are seeing this very huge loss within the JSE, moving from that 84,000 mark back to that lower 83,000 mark in terms of the all share trade volumes when you're looking into that. So because there is that bit of uncertainty. So we're seeing those news coming out of that ANC Lekgotla while they're waiting towards, that overall GNU caucus or Lekgotla, as you would call it. But
Right, that was in-house economist Sanele Sbiya just analyzing today's markets. He's back again. Mr. Sbiya, welcome back.
Yes, thank you, Lou. So it's on a couple of fronts on whether will it be able to hold, and what are the policy moves that we are going to see coming out of the GNU. So as we are moving towards the State of the Nation address, the entire globe and the business community is looking to see it, to see where that is going to go. And then coming into the local markets, we can see that we haven't had any movements in terms of the Eswatini Stock Exchange. When we look into the commodities, we can see that, as we've been predicting on this show, that we should see gold, we should see oil, the Brent crude oil, the price of Brent crude moving towards that 75 per barrel type of region, purely because there's going to be drill, baby drill. And right now we've seen President Trump come up with very strong warnings to the OPEC countries to actually lower oil prices. So all of those factors playing into the markets, we should see a surge in output while demand remains relatively low. So that's what is pushing the price of oil down. And then when we come to gold, we can see gold is still on that very high level, purely because of this uncertainty coupled with that profit taking within the equities sector. And then when you look into the currency, purely because of that GNU story, you can see that the Lilangen is weak across the board, weak against the dollar, weak against the euro, and weak against the Japanese yen because of the uncertainty, while the dollar in itself is gaining strength because when you look at that spread in that 10-year bond yield, it's still very high, showing that markets would rather hedge within, secured investments like your bonds at the present moment. Thank you, Lulu.
Thank you, Mrs. Spear, for that analysis for today's financial markets. And we've come to the end of our program. It's 2:30. Thank you for tuning in. If you've just joined us, worry not. You can still watch this episode on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV. We'll see you tomorrow at exactly 2 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Receiving that list, but has